Hello everyone and welcome. In this recording, I'm going to be speaking about this upcoming new moon that we have in the sign of Pisces on the 20th of February 2023 at around 1 degree and 22 minutes of the sign of Pisces. And this new moon is quite a lonely one in the sense that it doesn't hold any major celestial conversation with other major planets. So this to me represents that there is a lot of freedom here. There is actually a lot of control here. And when I say control, that means our input, our something that comes from us, because it does hold a strange aspect with Saturn, and that is an outer sign conjunction, Saturn being at 28 degree of the sign of Aquarius at this moment, at the moment of the new moon, while the new moon at 1 degree and 20 minutes of the sign of Pisces. So they are still conjunct, but the signs delimit their conjunction. Saturn, of course, brings to this energy a very strong element of grounded thought, which is not really all that much well accepted by the Piscean energies usually. But at this time, I do believe that there is a strong alchemy at play, because Saturn's grounded way of thinking, thought, plan, perception, this can also go in an elevated way, where the thought is motivated by a strong ideal, which may be impossible in the present moment, yet quite possible at a certain point in the future. Aquarius the future, Saturn the timing of it. Or this can be also where, for this energy of the thought to become possible, we might need to simply allow time to pass because something is under construction, for example. A project, a firm, a work of art, a company, a house, your own career, your own physical body's appearance, the way you desire it to be, your healing, your relationship, your child growing, for example. So there is a lot of concrete elements here which are just pure thought and even fantasy, yet there is a lot of grounded and solid hope to them, because the house, chances are, is gonna be constructed, the child grows, and all the other examples that I used, at a certain point in the future, it becomes Saturnian, as in grounded, real, stable, here to stay, accomplished, done. So this is actually quite positive. This is quite a favorable expression of groundedness. And we must also not forget that Saturn himself is preparing to enter into the sign of Pisces. So Saturn brings this with him when he makes the transition in March, when he dips into Pisces. And Saturn had a lot of work to do in the sign of Aquarius in this transit of his, because even as he entered his ancient ruling sign of Aquarius, he immediately got busy by meeting Jupiter in December 2020. So this was quite a powerful activation of Saturn, and this basically forced Saturn to really revolutionize himself, his inner structure. But this revolution was greatly highlighted in 2021 and 2022 as Saturn held the square to Uranus, planet of revolution. And now when Saturn has done all that alchemical work, so to speak, and Saturn was pushed by other power players like Jupiter and Uranus outside of his way of classical way, because his classical way was in Capricorn before he entered Aquarius. But even in Capricorn, Saturn met with Pluto, so Saturn was already prepared, purged to the very core, to prepare for the Aquarian expression. And in Aquarius, a purged Saturn met with Jupiter, and everything that was purged out by Pluto, Jupiter rejuvenated into Saturn. So that means the hope for the future, the structure for the future that we cannot see yet, which doesn't even exist yet, but is already being dreamed up. It is only now, when Saturn reaches this energetic position in Aquarius, is when that dream, what all of us collectively Aquarius and individually also Aquarius dreamed up, is being, let's say, concocted and ready to be dished out. Saturn in Pisces. Pisces itself dissolves Saturn. If Saturn didn't have enough, let's say, upgrades by now, by Jupiter, by Pluto, by Uranus square to Uranus, and we must not forget square to the node, north node, south node even. So that was a very big deal, because Saturn, whatever Saturn represents, even within the human collective consciousness, was upgraded. And let me give you an example of this, a lived example in the medieval ages. In astrology, alchemy, spiritual sciences, Saturn was seen highly malevolent. More malevolent than perhaps he was even seen by the ancients, and that says a lot. He was considered like a cripple, rotting, zombified old man filled with toxicity, rage, frustration, wishing harm upon anything, everything. Let's ask ourselves why. Well, people, clergy, especially in the medieval ages, did irritate Saturn quite a lot with their duality. Now, Saturn loves fanaticism quite a lot, if you know what I mean. But Saturn doesn't love when the fanaticism is betrayed. For example, by tax collection, by interpreting the Bible in this case, any holy text basically, the way you really need it to be in order to collect tax. And needless to say, you force people into chastity, but what do? And this goes for the clergy. Now, that's when all of this made sure that Saturn is actually full of spite and toxicity. But there was the Saturn and Pluto meeting in 1518 or something like that. And then slowly but surely Saturn started to upgrade, as in to be seen as the structure, to be seen as the challenger. But this is where humankind was wise Renaissance period and all of that followed after, to understand the value of the challenge, the sacrifice, and the alchemist journey, ultimately. So that's how Saturn upgraded from the cripple, the evil, to the necessary hardship and the cruel teacher. And, for example, but even at that time, Saturn already had the socialism, communism seed in him that he downloaded into human consciousness at that, but it needed the time to come online. But the seed was still there. Maybe Pluto gave Saturn that seed at the meeting, at their meeting in 1518 or something like that. But you can imagine the seed of communism. What was the seed of communism? Exactly to discipline the clergy. Because communism stripped civilians or the community people from spirituality. So it was like a consequence of the action, but it needed hundreds of years to truly come online, and it needed now for us to see it as such. We needed the 2020 Saturn Pluto meeting to see it as such. So, long story short, this is an upgraded Saturn here. This is a Saturn that holds the structures of what we collectively need in the future, not the present, not the past. That's why Pluto, Jupiter, Uranus, and very soon, I do believe, Fomalhaut, the fixed star, is really gonna crystallize Saturn into something that serves ultimately the greater future. And Saturn's dipping into Pisces is very important because in Aquarius, Saturn has all this mental upgrade in thought, in idea, in philosophy, in principle, and it's absolutely fine because what does all of this have to do with the new moon? The outer sign conjunction makes Saturn push this energy of his into the new moon. But Saturn is not yet dissolved. It is not yet affected by Pisces. The new moon is. So it's almost like literally Saturn being like the puppet master, where Saturn is above water and the new moon happens within the water, and Saturn has like remote controls there where it does something. Almost like when you send a probe or a little robot-y thing down into the deep ocean with little pincers and stuff like that to fix an oil leak or stuff like that. Now that is exactly what's happening, where the Pisces expression is the fertility of our souls, of our inner world. And needless to say, at the time of this new moon, Venus is anaretic in Pisces, just about to have stepped into Aries. This is also very meaningful and powerful because Venus anaretic in Pisces. Everything that makes us who we are at the very soul level is ready. The divine heart within us is ready for something. What that is, we'll see. Or what that is, better said, we have to new moon create. And Saturn, now I'm just seeking for the right terms, as in Saturn in Aquarius, the Grand Master Architect, the projector. But with the new moon, we also need to at least lay a brick, if you know what I mean. So yes, the schematic of whatever we're creating, conjuring, anything that we're doing is there, but we need to at least lay a symbolic brick for it to start creating itself. So I really, really like this conjunction, outer sign conjunction to Saturn, because it comes with the reality check needed. This isn't just another Piscean dream. This isn't just another fantasy. This isn't just another aspiration. It can be Christ consciousness, Pisces. It can be love, unconditional love. Something Piscean of nature, basically. But Saturn comes with the reality in thought. So I love this because it doesn't allow us to uh, drown in the Piscean waters. Because Pisces and new moon, well, okay, something hatches from the dream, but it can drown immediately. So Pisces is so and so, if you know what I mean. It's absolutely wonderful and fertile if the dream doesn't have to become reality. But if it does have to be, and it does, Saturn, it does. It really, really does. Well, then conditions need to be met in order for the dream when born not to drown. So, yeah. And this is exactly what Saturn is providing. And Saturn sometimes is harsh, is strict. Saturn sometimes will tell you, in this new moon, exactly, compassion and Christ consciousness. You don't have enough Saturn resources, energy, times, whatever, for yourself and to share with someone who benefits. Even if that someone is family member. And Saturn will say, you're going into the future, and whoever is kind of needy of you, it doesn't matter why karmically Saturn, or your choice or whatever, you're going and they're going, but separately. So this is the reality, but this can also be something much more delightful. This is where you're going into the future, let's say professionally, but Saturn will not let you until you know your worth, your true worth. So Saturn will bombard you with feedback, positive feedback, degrees, diplomas, recognition, taps on the back, calls, collaborations, feedback from other professionals, to not necessarily pump up your ego, but to make sure you begin something new in full awareness that you're actually a valuable Saturnian being as a profession, or at what to do. Your Saturn is valuable. Why? Because it worked. So this can be quite positive. And another aspect which I would like to mention is, and this is not a big deal, but it does hold a trine to Haumea. Dwarf planet Haumea, who freshly entered into the sign of Scorpio herself from Libra, and this is where Haumea's symbolism has a lot, even in physical reality, she has an egg shape, and she spins around her orbit faster than any planetoid. That's why she has an egg shape. Faster than most moons, faster than most. So that immediately screams quantum. In Scorpio, Scorpio's transformation, Scorpio is adaptation, Scorpio is mutation, Scorpio is how we alchemize something, but Scorpio is also how, now just give me a second here, the vinegaroon, if you wanna Google that, that's absolutely fine, that's an insect, became a an atypical arachnid that is so Haumea in Scorpio. Because most arachnids mutated to what they are now. The vinegaroon, Haumea, found a different kind of adaptation. And it was tangible, it worked, it was allowed to prosper, thrive, exist, and delight all of us as a living fossil. It did something so good that, Scorpio is fixed energy. It's when I say mutation, it is not the adaptation of the mutable energies like Gemini, Pisces, and Virgo. It is more like, how should I express this? You survive it, it becomes you. Your survival became you. Your survival, your You overcoming the challenge over a course of period of time. That was the adaptation process. Gemini, Pisces, Virgo, Sagittarius, more like, how should I say, ping pong, as in they can dodge, avoid, they can adapt, but then go back to, like plastic. They, like, these signs do mutate, do adapt, do hold the scorpionic power, but like camouflage, like the octopuses at the deep, deep sea, where they just can put on the light, can change color, can figure everything out, can use tools, have communities, can socialize. Like, they have a civilization down there on their own, they don't need anything. But they can use this power as they go. Scorpionic fixed mutation, it becomes you. You don't go back. There's no way back. There's no flexibility. You survived it. Whatever you did to survive becomes you. And why is this important? Because Haumea trines this new moon. It's highly creational. And this means that Saturn adds its energy of making this possible. So I do believe that whatever dream, whatever initiation, whatever big thing you put into the universe, put into ether, put into, the fertility of the cosmos, through dreams, through intention, through a ritual, through affirmations, through a gesture, whatever it is that you do, this can become more real than we could ever imagine, as long as you meet Saturn's reality check of morality, etc., etc. Because, as I said, whatever this new moon holds, it is something that marks your beginning of Saturn in Pisces for you personally. So where is this 1 degree of Pisces in your chart personally? Because that something, a dream, a self-fulfilling prophecy, an inner guidance, an inner pull, a tug almost, in that area of life might come online around this time of the... And again, Haumea is fertility, it is birth, it is pure alchemy, and it is the planetoid which is, from all the trans-Neptunian objects, the most quantum. Like, really. Most of the trans-Neptunian objects, these planetoids that I keep mentioning, including Pluto himself, are usually quite outstanding that they're highly radioactive. There is a lot of radioactivity within them. So that means their frequency is beyond us, but in a lower sense. A sense that we haven't reached yet. Haumea, on the other hand, is unusual because of her orbit. So she is a infinitely higher frequency, more divine frequency than the other trans-Neptunian objects. Because the other trans-Neptunian objects usually are deities, energies, which have a lot to do with underworld. Or which have a lot to do with, guardianship. So that means their frequency is very, very telluric. While Haumea is beyond tellur. Haumea is almost trans-dimensional. Anyway, this doesn't really matter. What matters is that this can be a fantastic energy for anyone that is artistic, spiritualist, psychological elements, like even personal healing, trauma release, releasing of the past. Why? Because the new moon pushes it out. Something is created, is born, and it just pushes the whatever is, holding us down out. It's like an elimination, and Saturn helps with that. because it makes this healing, this transformation, whatever, permanent. And this is a very, very dreamy energy. This can be love, this can be something that you need in your life, but coming to you through this aligning dream with reality, the Saturn, and you were prepared for this, during Saturn's transit in the sign of Aquarius. And of course, Mercury, planet of mind, is also there in Aquarius. Pluto anoretic in Capricorn, that's very important, because Capricorn is the stage of manifestation. Capricorn is what decides what kind of energy is allowed to manifest here on Earth and what isn't. So this is where a big breakthrough can happen, but through dreams, magic, alchemy, the occult, Haumea in Scorpio. Make sure to use the power of the, again, occult, magic, study, the mind's power through over spirit, even in the most elevated sense possible. So Scorpio, non-selfish, because Scorpio purges the lower ego. That's why it's full of, the poison is meant to intoxicate the lower ego. You know what I mean? Because the lower ego needs to go. It needs to be transformed into something divine, or something that is dedicated to the divine, even if it's not very imperfect, or even if it's another layer of the lower ego. If it's higher than the one that died, it's already job good, well done. So Haumea brings the divine dream into Scorpio, the power of this alchemy, the power to shed the lower ego, the power to kill the darkness, basically. And Pisces dissolves. So this is really, really good energy for all of us. And Pisces represents Christ consciousness and the spirit of communion. So let's dream for all of us. Let's dream. This is about, let's add peace there. Let's add harmony. Let's add work, Saturn. Let us begin rebuilding. Enough with the destruction. Let's rebuild already. Of course, rebuilding means all of us get out of daydream. And it means Saturn sacrifice. Art and everything that has to do with basically the Neptunian element is no longer something that is meant to escape us from our lives, but rather motivates us to build, 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 build. This is a period, Saturn into Pisces, where our souls are in building mode. For whom it isn't, it's not the best expression, but anyway, we have to do it. And we have to do it either through Pisces, infinite darkness, or, and that is, I do believe, quite a few people, or the other expression of Pisces, as close as the Christ consciousness, so morality, being at peace with ourselves, with everyone around, not having enemies as such. All of these, this is how we need to build our lives in the next 3 years, and this new moon definitely prepares us for this. So I do believe I'd like to leave it at this. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for all the love, all the support, and I'm wishing everyone a really, really blessed and inspired new moon. May your dreams become reality. Until next time, bye for now.